Well, you've heard of the luck of the Irish, but you may be wondering, will we get lucky with this year's St. Patrick's Day forecast? I'm going to break down that answer in this week's edition of the Climate Friday newsletter. Plus, we're going to be talking about some of the environmental impacts of clover and how it can affect not only your lawn, but also farms over in Ireland. So very interesting information. Hope you subscribe at WTOL.com/email, and we'll have the latest information straight to your inbox each and every week. So let's talk about the luck of the Irish, starting off with the weather and breaking down some of the extreme weather conditions that March 17th has brought over the years. Boy, this time of year can be a weather wild card with some highs and lows in the temperature department. Now, our normal high for March 17th is 45 degrees. So even though you may think of St. Paddy's Day as a sort of unofficial start to spring, it tends to feel a bit more brisk and chilly. And this time of year, that East Lake breeze can oftentimes make temperatures feel a little bit cooler. Usually St. Patrick's Day is fairly chilly, and getting rain or snow not out of the ordinary for March 17th. So what are we expecting this year? Temperatures are likely to land somewhere in the upper 40s to near 50 degrees, so it's actually going to be a little milder than average. Now, compared to how mild it's been this week and those 70s on deck for today as well as for your Saturday, it is going to feel a little bit brisk, but relatively speaking, this is going to be an above average St. Patrick's Day, at least in the temperature department. Now let's talk about some extremes and record-setting St. Paddy's Day. You may think we got the luck of the Irish back in 2012. That was a historic year where we had unseasonable warmth, not only in the spring, but also record-setting summertime temperatures. And that is the warmest St. Patrick's Day on record with 77-degree temperature readings. It's going to be a far cry from that this year. Now, on the other side of the coin, St. Patrick's Day can bring harsh, dare I say, wintry weather conditions. Not so lucky back in 1973, and that is the snowiest St. Paddy's Day ever recorded with 4 inches of accumulation. Don't worry, we're not expecting snow this St. Patrick's Day, and there is not going to be any snow on the ground. The last time we got snow for St. Patrick's Day, you may remember this one, really didn't happen that many years ago. Back in 2017, we actually had 2.1 inches of St. Patrick's Day accumulation, and that was the last measurable snow that we had on March 17th, and boy, the high temperature was 33 degrees. Certainly felt a little more like winter than springtime. Really a polar opposite of the spectrum, comparing the warmest and the coldest St. Patrick's Days, anywhere from -2 degrees to 77 degrees, a 79-degree temperature span between the coldest and the warmest St. Patrick's Day. And that record cold happened right at the turn of the century in 1900, and the warmest, as I outlined earlier, in 2012. What about precipitation? The wettest St. Patrick's Day in terms of rainfall, that was in 1980 with 0.95 inches of rain, and the snowiest, 4 inches of snow accumulation in 1973. So getting precipitation on St. Patrick's Day, fairly common, and March has a reputation for being a damp month. This St. Paddy's Day, though, is looking dry with a good amount of sunshine that is on tap. So what about the last couple of years? Boy, this list really gives you an idea of just how up and down St. Patrick's Day weather can be and how much of a weather wild card the March of month really is. Last year, we were near normal in the temperature department with a high of 44. Keep in mind that normal high is in the mid-40s for St. Patrick's Day. The year prior, we were at 54 degrees, 75 in 2022, feeling a little bit more like springtime with that St. Patrick's Day. It was another balmy one in 2021 with a 65-degree temperature reading, and in 2020, 52 degrees, a little bit above normal in the temperature department. Now, overall, St. Patrick's Day is growing a little bit warmer, and climate change may be having a link with that. Now, the one thing you'll notice with this graph is there are a lot of spikes up and a lot of spikes down. That is why climate scientists make what we call a line of best fit. In other words, averaging out that data and seeing where the overall trend line points us. There's a lot of extremes on both sides of the spectrum, and even with climate change, we're still going to have harsh and cold St. Patrick's Days, and we're probably still going to be getting snow from time to time. But as a whole, in the last half century, St. Patrick's Day has warmed up by a little over 3 degrees in the Toledo metro. You'll see that trend line drawn out, and the other line shows you those spikes both up and down from year-to-year variation. So yes, the weather pattern in the jet stream does dictate how the weather is going to be any given St. Patrick's Day, but as a whole, things are getting a little bit warmer. So just for fun, let's talk a little bit about clover, which, believe it or not, has some really serious environmental benefits, and some of those could potentially impact your lawn, especially as we're gearing up for that spring cleaning and spring planting season. So what about clover has really impacted farms in general and agriculture? And going back to Ireland, thinking of some dairy farms that have utilized clover for many, many decades, if not centuries, for its benefits. Now, clover is what's known as a nitrogen fixer. In other words, it traps nitrogen in the soil and improves the soil quality and improves the health of anything growing in that soil. And it has a similar effect to synthetic fertilizers, but can do that naturally as a nitrogen fixer, and that reduces the need for fertilizer. Additionally, as a whole, the use of clover can reduce the carbon footprint of dairy farms, and that is super beneficial because a lot of times agriculture does have a bigger greenhouse gas footprint than you may think. Also, for those dairy farms, clover can increase the milk yield and also the nutritional benefit. Clover-rich soil is more nutritionally beneficial for those cows to consume, and as a result, that is passed off to the consumer in the form of better quality milk. And last but not least, there's a lot of lawn benefits that you can capitalize on, including the attraction of beneficial insects, beneficial bugs, and lowering the need for pesticides. So let's break down just a few of those impacts that clover can actually have a benefit to your front or your back lawn. As I mentioned earlier, it's a natural nitrogen fixer. Rather than using synthetic nitrogen-containing fertilizers, clover can do the job naturally by trapping in that nitrogen in the soil. Also, it really improves the quality of the soil by trapping in moisture and lowering the evaporation of water into the atmosphere, and that keeps the soil a little bit more water-rich and also a little bit cooler, essentially functioning as a living mulch. And last but not least, beneficial bugs. You've probably heard of clover honey before, and that's not just a catchy name. Clover attracts pollinators and also butterflies and moths and other beneficial insects that can reduce the need for synthetic pesticides and really improve the quality of your lawn. So if you think about it, the luck of the Irish, you may be able to get that luck of the Irish with those clovers growing in your lawn. If you're not already subscribed to the Climate Friday newsletter, we have the latest information sent straight to your inbox every week. Hope you had fun talking about St. Paddy's Day, and hope you enjoyed the beautiful sunny forecast that we're expecting for Monday, March 17th. We'll see you next week in the Climate Friday newsletter. Take care.